morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. And our topic for today, for our 173rd episode, is so relevant in present times. Space has always been the ultimate adventure, but now we are not exploring it alone. Artificial intelligence is right there with us. From rovers on Mars to smart satellites, artificial intelligence is helping us explore the universe like never before. And today we are asking how artificial intelligence is changing the game nowadays. And today we ask what happens when AI becomes a co pilot to the cosmos. It is a privilege to be discussing this so very important topic with none other than Mr. Jijith Ravi. And he's going to discuss with us use of artificial intelligence in space exploration. He's the former, very renowned ISRO scientist. He's also the author of a trilogy on geography of Rig Veda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, apart from so many publications that we all know. We all know so much about him. So whatever I say will be so less. He's worked on Chandrayaan 1 and several GSLV launches. He's the founder of Ancient Voice and Dharma Digital, which is a tech platform using AI and VR to bring ancient heroes to life. He's contributed also on the dating of Kurukshetra world. So welcome, Mr. Ravi. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. We are so honored, and it's a privilege to have you with us today.
Thank you, and my greetings to all of your audience.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, I mean, everyone has been looking forward to this interview with you. You know, your relevance to this topic that we are going to discuss today definitely stems from your unique blend of deep space science expertise and innovative use of emerging technologies in AI innovation. You have really deep insights into how AI can augment exploration, autonomy, and discovery in space missions. So, to start with, I would like you to define the use of AI in space missions. We'd like to begin there. Maybe a little brief on this, and before we carry on with the conversation. So.
Yes. So we have the space missions from the most spectacular, the 1969, the lunar launch, the first time the man set the foot on the moon. So from there onwards, we have seen a lot of progress in the space exploration and space technologies.
Yes.
And we also see this the other part of the science and technology, which is the artificial intelligence. And many people may not be believing, but it has also had a very early start in the 20th century. But of course, we started listening or hearing about artificial intelligence in the last 5 years, or some of us who have been an insider into some kind of AI based development. We have been hearing it from 2014 at least. This generative network, the adversarial network, generative adversarial network, GAN networks, which are very promising, and in terms of generating some very useful intelligence, which we can consider as the de facto artificial intelligence. So many people know me as a scientist in ISRO, where I have worked from 2001 onwards. But I have, as part of my career, I have a lot of connect with artificial intelligence as well. One is in 2006 and 7, that period, I had a kind of taken up a project which is based on a neural net. That is my first experience of the artificial intelligence. So the neural network, which is actually the foundation of almost everything in the artificial AI. So basically, its objective was to solve certain surface equations. So if you give some point cloud data, it will generate a surface for you. So it's a very trivial thing, but that was done by the artificial intelligence such early period like 2006 and 7. And now we are after that in 2014 major revolution, and then 2018 this GPTs, that is the precursor of the chat GPT, everything emerged. And we are now in the era of the artificial intelligence. So after the previous 20 years, we call it as internet era from 2000 to 2020. And 2020 onwards, we are actually slowly coming into the artificial intelligence era. So how is the space technology as well as artificial intelligence are combining together? These are two powerful and kind of two technologies. So first and foremost, as an introduction, I can tell you that the artificial intelligence is a multiplier. So in our any domain, it basically multiplies the capabilities. So in case of space technology, one of the primary use of the artificial intelligence is to actually do replication experiments, like the experiments which require thousands and thousand times of repetition. For example, the propulsion technology. So, creating a new and advanced propulsion technology in the rocket science. So, the propulsion means the mechanism by which the rocket moves forward. So, it is giving the velocity and the thrust in the thrusters. And here, typically in ISRO and many other space organizations like NASA, ESA, SpaceX, whichever be the organization. So we do thousands of trials and errors of material change, the machine, the change of the machine, the geometry of the machine. So thousands of parameters are changed, and it's all very difficult process which we do manually. And some of this repetition, thousands of trial and errors, it may take 5 years to 10 years of period. But now with the artificial intelligence and combined with this ability to simulate the environment, so you can do this kind of trial and errors and the development of a new rocket engine in a matter of few months. So the whatever happened in the few years, now it's be able to do in few months. And there are certain results that has come from a space agency in Russia, that they have invented, using the help of artificial intelligence. They have invented a new rocket engine, ion based propulsion engine, which is 10x 10 times more faster than the conventional engine. So this is just one very good example of using the artificial intelligence in space technology and improving the result in the propulsion technology. So maybe that is the kind of introduction I can give, and then we will delve deeper into based on your questions.
You're so right. So you've been part of I would say, the progress of artificial intelligence in India, especially, and the world, that you've seen it with your eyes. But when did this happen? This transition that, we used to relate AI with maybe science fiction, but suddenly it's so much part of our lives. I mean, it's so part. We can't end a discussion without talking about AI. We can't. We are nothing nowadays without a chat GPT. We want to Google everything in a better way using AI. So when do you think this transition happened? I mean, since you've been part of this process and so much part that you've taken it as far as the space exploration, when did this happen? When
Yeah,
did
so the
sudden
most
change happen?
Yeah, so the most important impact that is noticeable for the common man, that happened in 2022 when the ChatGPT, the most popular version of the ChatGPT was released. And then it start now whatever the news clippings we can say, the rise, the number of subscribers for the ChatGPT, the rate at which it has grown into millions and millions in a matter of few weeks, that is 10 times faster than the Facebook grew. So I'll give an example of how Facebook now they slowly progressed and hit 1 million and 10 million, like that. So whatever speed at which the Facebook took a few years to grow into that kind of a subscriber base, but the ChatGPT was able to become it has grown and increase the subscribers at a rapid speed of 5 times to 10 times. So that is the time in 2022 where the people started noticing the generative AI, or in other words, the artificial intelligence. But then we had in previous the GPTs itself, older versions of the GPT. GPT means generative pre-trained transformers. So it's kind of a neural network which has its own architecture, special architecture, etc., which is very successful because what it does is it does the computation in multiple in the sense of thousands and thousands, sometimes 10 thousands of compute servers, which is a cloud-based architecture. So this have created. So earlier, the artificial intelligence were typically working on a single laptop or a single desktop, and its power was very limited. For example, you can think about Watson Analytics and some softwares like that were active in 2015, 2014, etc. So that was like solving small problems like some Excel sheet solutions, or giving some very simple kind of advisory on the business use cases, etc. And it was not very much noticeable. Only the software people working in the software engineering, they will use this artificial intelligence based analytics and advisory kind of software. So that was in 2014 and 2015, and it continued even in until the COVID. All this time, it's all like Watson Analytics and that kind of things. But 2022, you get that big blast, right? Something like an explosion. Then this ChatGPT started release, and then there was no looking back, right? In the GPT, this 3, and then 2, this 3.54, like that, it continuously generating the new versions. So on one side, you had the GPTs, and then you have many other competitors like this. Gemini from Google, and then Meta AI from Facebook, and then now recently from the Elon Musk, the Grok. So now when we were in the Twitter, you will see the Grok said this, Grok said that. So that is all happening. But of course, I have to correct like give a kind of clarity to the audience. So the kind of artificial intelligence that we are using inside this propulsion systems, it's not the chat GPT kind of, because these are conversational agents. But just to make the common people understand, this is a similar kind of an artificial intelligence system, but is operating in the area of simulation. The simulations, the physical simulations, etc., which are very important inside the space technology. So people who are actually experts in the chat GPT or any kind of programs like Grok, they will not be able to quickly start giving any kind of contribution to the space technology, because it requires a different kind of artificial intelligence. Similar kind of capabilities, but it is operating in the area of simulation and 3D the understanding of 3 dimensions. Of course, so there are certain overlaps with the GPTs and the Groks, etc., but a little bit into the physical world and the physical simulations. And this is the kind, and it does the same function, same kind of computation power, same kind of reasoning power, and ability to do multiple trials and errors. So, as I mentioned, it currently being used, at least in the last 2 years, there is a lot of interest in the space technology to introduce the artificial intelligence paradigms into the space technology. In the material science, invention is another area, just like I mentioned propulsion. The material science, because here the space technology all about is new materials like lightweight materials, but more harder than iron. So that kind of materials are very much important in space technology. For example, the outer covering of the spacecraft or a launch vehicle, it requires very lightweight material. At the same time, it's very hard and not breakable kind of. So in terms of hardness, we need the maximum. In terms of weight, we need lesser. That is the kind of ideal material which are used for the spacecrafts or launch vehicles. So there was a kind of, again, lot of trial and error simulations, etc. That manual activity is now changed into the artificial intelligence based trial and errors. Then it becomes whatever happened in a matter of years, now happening in a matter of months.
So I mean, like after talking to you, and also that I've been reading about this, and that's the reason why I got so interested in this topic, that AI is definitely lessening the time that you would have ideally taken in space exploration. And
Yes.
you have now AI labs, you have so much going on. So do you think time-wise, definitely we are saving a lot, we are progressing multifolds because of AI? Or do you think
Yes,
there are
yes.
still some ethical boundaries that we have to still touch? I mean, what?
At least nothing in the space technology, but of course, when we talk about AI, there are ethical concerns about it becoming more intelligent than human beings.
Yes.
And there was unconfirmed reports of the AI systems trying to break free of the human control, etc. But it's just we cannot confirm or verify it because sometimes it is a rumor about the Google Labs, etc. But coming back to the space technology, it is in a controlled environment where the AI just give the simulations and give results of a faster, the propulsion systems which are faster than human-based designs or new material science, creating new materials and that kind of activity. But of course, in the future, there is a kind of interest in bringing the artificial intelligence into space exploration itself. So, for example, that involves sending spacecrafts, large number of spacecrafts into outer space in a single launch. So, in terms of launch, it is a single launch. But then we will have a swarm of micro satellites or pico satellites, which are like very small satellites of 100 kilograms weight. And even they are trying to create 10 kilogram weight satellites, etc. But it have all the functionality of a satellite. So it has a propulsion system, etc. So, what instead of launching a single spacecraft into Moon or into Mars, we are actually sending thousands of very small spacecrafts based on the factor. Like if it is a 100 kilogram, then you will have some 100 satellites, or if it is a 10 kilogram satellite, you have thousands of them, and they will just deploy it on very close to the atmosphere, very close to the ground before the hitting the ground. This just like your pollen grains come out of the flower. A mother spacecraft will release these spacecrafts into the surface of a planet, and then these individual spacecrafts are all actually driven by artificial intelligence. So they will automatically, on an autopilot, self-sufficient mode, because they are powered by artificial intelligence. They will just land onto the this surface of the target planet, and then you have micro robotics also. So, for example, the spacecraft can contain this 10 kilogram or 100 kilogram spacecraft can contain equivalently small sized robots, and these robots are also equipped by artificial intelligence. So you can do an exploration of a planet which will otherwise take some 20 years of effort to explore a planet like Mars, for example. So to and fro travel to Mars, it will happen in only within something like 2 years or 5 years. So one single mission takes 2 to 5 years of planning and execution. And so in 20 years, you can have maximum 4 or 5 missions. That is how the current capacity. But when you have this kind of capability where a large number of this satellites and robots, and we can spawn them, like you can actually spray them into the target planet. So this exploration that typically happens in 20 years, sometimes even 50 years, you can wind up in a matter of 1 year, because these satellites, thousands of them are landing onto the surface of the planet. All of them are equipped with artificial intelligence, and the robots are coming out of these satellites, and then their robots are moving around the planet on their own. So instead of one opportunity rover roving around, moving around Mars, we had two rover opportunity that another companion this rover, and they spent 5 years, more than 5 years, to collect a lot of information from Mars. Same thing you can do in a matter of 6 months. And so whatever you can achieve in 1 year using these advanced robotics, micro robots and micro satellites powered by artificial intelligence, the space exploration also get accelerated, like your material science getting accelerated or propulsion technology getting accelerated. Now the space technology also getting accelerated. The exploration of the space, like different planets, these are also getting accelerated. At this point, your comment about autonomy, like what if this particular robots become autonomous, they stop listening to the human beings. So that is a kind of risk that we. So till that time, whatever artificial intelligence usage in the space technology is limited. But once we have very kind of highly intelligent robotic agents start exploring the planet, they should be sticking to them. They should stick to the mission, and no, they can be employed for setting up the habitats for the human presence. So instead of we ourselves going there onto the planet, we can actually deliver this swarm of micro robots and micro satellites, and they will prepare the environment for the human beings to live. Like they can create materials from the soil of the planet itself, and then create domes, that is protective covered domes where the harmful radiations etc will not be there. So these are called biomes, that is fully controlled environments on the host planet, which completely cut off the harmful radiations like X-ray radiations and ultraviolet radiations, gamma rays, etc., and also provide oxygen, water, everything. So this particular intelligent AI based robots can go there, prepare the entire environment, and create the biomes, and then just say that we are ready, and then the human travel can happen to the this different planet. So this is kind of a very interesting area, but we are at the 2025. We are basically talking in terms of a theoretical manner, but going to be a reality within a matter of 5 or 6 years. That is the kind of timelines that we are expecting.
As a common man, as somebody who knows, as you're right when you mentioned that most of us know more about artificial intelligence because of ChatGPT. There's one question which comes to my mind out of the blue. Is this that in space at least there is no scope of any mistake? I mean, I think on Earth you still can control few things, but millions of light years away, maybe you're talking about planets in future beyond Mars that you're going to
Yes,
you're going to
right.
think about having some kind of habitation someday somewhere if there is some that's why I think AI is really getting into so much into space exploration. So why how do you think as a scientist who's got so many years of experience and now also with AI, I mean, you're the perfect example and perfect person to ask this question. What happens about that 0% chance of a mistake there? Who will handle that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a very important question, and if I can tell, because I was also insider into some of the programs where the artificial intelligence were tried into the space technology in the last year. So one of the biggest reluctance from the space technology's point of view regarding artificial intelligence is that it makes a lot of mistakes. So it's not affordable to be part of a mission. So that is the kind of initial reactions. But this is actually getting mitigated as the months are passing by and years are passing by. Of course, the mistakes are very cruel when it happens in the outer space. A small mistake, and then the entire mission gets jeopardized. Because we know the Chandrayaan 2, which is just one single error.
Hmm.
That is, the four thrusters should have a equal balanced, this thruster capacity should be equal, but there was a slight imbalance between the four thrusters, and this resulted into the spinning of the spacecraft, and it crash landed onto the moon. So a very small error, and then this is occurring. In case of that is the reason why because the generative AI based systems are prone to make a lot of approximations. For example, if anybody have made an image of a person using the chat GPT, you will see four instead of 5 fingers, it will make 4 fingers or 6 fingers. So that kind of overestimations and hallucination, that is the correct word, which is we see in the this typical systems. And the kind of AI that we are using in the space technology, that hallucination part is the bare minimum. They ensure that it is absolutely not there, or it is very minimum. So it is actually, you can say, space hardened AI that is we are using in the space technology. So there is an analogy here, because you see the commercial electronics that we use, that is in our mobile phones and laptops, they are not protected from radiation. So we will call these are like commercial soft electronics. But the electronics that is going inside the spacecraft, they are like also called as a radiation hardened. So we actually use slightly different kind of materials and different kind of testing, etc. So one mobile phone which you can use in on Earth, and if you want to create a mobile phone which is used in the space, they will look similar, but they will have a huge amount of difference. So if in terms of numerical ways, if I say the mobile phone with the same configuration that is used in Earth and the radiation hardened mobile phone that can be used in the space, that will be like the cost and the complexity will be 10x different. So when you have a radiation hardened material, the electronics, then you need a special kind of manufacturing methodologies and testing methodologies, etc. So that is about electronics. So same thing is there for artificial intelligence also. So whatever the artificial intelligence that we are using in our daily life, that it can actually, there is more tolerance to the for the errors. It can be like there can be more tolerance to the fault. But the same we cannot do in a space technology. So we have a concept of no, the space compliant artificial intelligence, which have a very less hallucination. So the decision making is very close to perfection. And of course, the space technology have another methodology. It's not at related to artificial intelligence, but for any system there is a redundancy. So, for example, if when you are actually devising just in inside the launch vehicle, if there is a valve which has to perform, so there will be minimum three different switches for that, which actually perform the same function. And the valve will itself can be no, there will be three valves. So one valve fail, the equivalent other valve will be actually working properly. So this is called the redundancy. So typically you have multiple redundancy inside the space components. So whenever a decision is made, you will have, instead of one artificial intelligence agent, you will have three of them, and then you will vote like among the three. If two of them are telling one thing, that will be considered as the correct one, and the one which is having a different answer will be considered as wrong. So you have some voting mechanism, etc. And this is how the multiple redundancy and the voting mechanism can also mitigate to some extent the possibility of errors. This is a normal methodology used in space technology, not only for AI, but for anything. Like any kind of failure can be arrested or minimized using multiple redundancy. So this is another way. So using all these things like multiple redundancy systems and the space hardened AI or space compliant AI, we will try to eliminate that possibility of error into the when we are using AI into the space technologies.
Yeah, also because in future you'll have AI assistants maybe accompanying the space scientists to the space labs. How do you think in future the space scientists will be open to carrying an AI assistant and relying on that person completely, solving all their problems perhaps in a closed space? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I saw a video recently when they were talking about AI assistants perhaps solving even their personal problems. When you are there in a closed space labs, you might have differences with your colleagues, and you can rely upon an AI assistant to help you out. Do you think the reliability there will be manifold because they would not have anybody else, but a very, very intelligent AI assistant helping them out maybe for months in the space? I mean, how do
Yeah.
you see the compatibility of the human and the AI there?
Yes. Yes. That's a very interesting question. And to answer your question, like ISRO have in the Gaganyaan program, one of the early element instead of human being the one robot it will be traveling in one of the earlier pilot missions of this Gaganyaan mission. So this is like India's equivalent of sending an animal into the space. Instead of that, we are avoiding a animal life which can be endangered. Instead of that, we are sending a robot. This robot is like a human in a female form. So she's called Vyom Mitra. And this Vyom Mitra is actually sent in an unmanned mission into the Gaganyaan in order to study the parameters and the kind of biohazard that can occur in the space, radiation intensity and many other parameters like how much is the acceleration that the traveler will suffer. So all these things are monitored and recorded by Vyomitra in one of the earlier pilot mission of the Gaganyaan, which is planned, which will happen in the subsequent 2 years. And there is another interesting plan from ISRO that the same Vyomitra will travel along with the human travelers. We have identified 4 astronauts for that. all the names are announced by the Prime Minister. So this Vyomitra, there is a possibility of Vyomitra traveling again along with these four astronauts, and then exactly whatever you mentioned will start into the play. So the Vyomitra have the capability to communicate, and she is having abilities. The current abilities are basically to parameter physical parameters, and understand the pressure, temperature variations, and any kind of biological threat that can happen inside the living cabin inside the spacecraft. So the Vyomitra's function is to monitor that, and then in a manned mission, she will also act like a kind of the person who will alert these other astronauts about potential problems inside the spacecraft. And there is an idea of making this Vyomitra as a conversation agent. So giving comfort and companionship to the astronauts. So these things will be tested out. But if you are ready to go a little more into the future, and this is going to be a standard feature of long missions, like for example, if you want to go to the Mars, Mars is still closer, but if you are exploring
Mhm.
the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, they are too far, and the total travel based on the current speed of the spacecraft, which will run into many years. And if it is always having a kind of a robotic companion who can actually communicate and interact in an emotional manner to interact with the crew members, and even the robot can actually perform as a neutral person without being biased to anybody. So any kind of it's just like human society, typically there can be disputes, etc., which can even happen when there is a 2 years or 3 years journey in the spacecraft, which is traveling in a very long distances. And then this probably there is a possibility of the robot acting as a neutral person and cool down the emotions, and then make the entire crew working as a very functional team. These are all possibilities. And there are endless possibilities like that. Like if you are planning a interstellar mission, where the humanity have to travel for hundreds of years in multiple generations, then you need some kind of an entity which will keep record of the happenings across the generations. So only a robot or a kind of non-biological system can actually continue to exist for a period of a century or 200 years. That kind of travel in kind of currently it's all science fiction, but in eventuality, if you are actually venturing into that kind of emissions, then it is the robots who will be traveling along with the humans that who will actually help multiple generations to get understanding of each other and have a continuous program, like a continuous program which is continuing for multiple generations. A mission, a space mission, exploratory mission continuing for multiple generation. The common thread, unifying thread, will be some robots. So these are all the different possibilities.
My God, this is so fantastic. As we're discussing and getting more into artificial intelligence, I mean, it is something definitely to look forward to. And you, as a scientist, must be still very surprised also at the possibilities the AI is opening up. So, what do you think? What are the current ISRO missions or projects that really incorporate AI technologies? Most of them
Yeah, yeah.
are new.
So
Yeah.
one of the most foremost is the Vyomitra, the human robot, female robot that we are using in the Gaganyaan mission. And there are many things happening in the labs, AI labs, which is spread across different centers in ISRO, where they are trying out. One is that, of course, the simulation-based usages, where they use AI for creating new materials, which are essential for space exploration, lighter weight and more harder materials, more kind of propellant fuel, more advanced propellant fuels, which have more efficiency, energy efficiency, and can provide more thruster speed than propulsion engines itself, where based on the current conventional engines, which are basically the solid propellants and liquid propellants and cryogenic stage propellants. Where I have worked in ISRO, I was handling the liquid nitrogen console of the cryogenic stage. So basically, I was handling the liquid nitrogen for the GSLV. So now after the cryogenic, we have made a lot of interest in ionic propulsion. So plasma or the iron particles are expelled and the resulting thrust is used for moving the spacecraft. So there is a lot of optimization required in an ion propulsion system and electric propulsion systems, where we create plasma and then, of course, eject ion particles. So in all these places, apart from the human design, we need a lot of optimization and multiple trial and error simulations, etc., where AI is helping to make this process very fast. And it is not only accelerating the time, AI also doing some lot of innovations, in the sense that when human mind brings multiple parameters and into the notice of the artificial intelligence, it is able to recognize more patterns than the humans themselves can understand, and sometimes new innovations which are coming directly from the artificial intelligence. The human brain is not able to maybe make that ideological leap, but the AI is able to recognize the pattern and suggest an innovation, and that also happens in material science and in propulsion technology, in creating new propellants everywhere. So this is also areas where ISRO is working in labs, and very visible kind of usage is in the AI robotics, that is your Mitra. But otherwise, and of course, one thing I missed in the image remote sensing. So recently, I mean, today early morning, I was in the Times New studio or for the one of the launch of the this EOS 9 satellite, which were actually supposed to take pictures. Now, it's a remote sensing satellite so it takes pictures of the surface of Earth in the area of interest. So it could be the Indo-Pakistan border or some areas where some troop movements or military or terrorist activity is happening. So you have in a conventional methodology in the remote sensing, you can actually have a resolution. Typical resolutions are like a high resolution is 1 meter resolution. But if you use artificial intelligence onto the pixels that is generated or remote sensing data, artificial intelligence can increase the resolution because it can actually compensate for the less amount of pixels. And whatever 1 meter resolution which we achieve using mathematical modeling, you can make it as a 10 centimeter resolution. That means you can look at the image. So a typical 1 square meter image from the Indo-Pakistan border, you take it and AI takes, then it processes it, and you can see objects which are 10 centimeter in size. So you can actually not only see a terrorist or a enemy soldier, you can even know what is the weapon in the hands of that soldier.
My God.
So AI is basically increasing your vision power. So these are all remote sensing based things. Even there are the same methodologies continuing, and the scientists are trying to make it like 1 centimeter resolution. So you can even read the text of. I mean, it's basically that kind of level of understanding of the territory, the troop movements, etc. So earlier it was a 1 meter resolution or 100 meter resolutions. You only know some trucks are moving. Now you know that who are sitting inside the truck. What is the face? You can even do the face recognition of the people, and even suggest that, because typically from the space, no, the satellites looking at from the very elevated, no, it's like almost like 80-degree or 90-degree based observations. So basically, by looking at the movement of the person, like it gives a movement signature. So based on that, we can suggest that this is a particular person. On that level intelligence we are actually trying to build.
My God, this is so much beyond what we really think of AI. I mean, how amazing. I think this is next level,
Yeah.
absolutely. But one thing which I really wanted to know, what role does AI play in actual real-time decision making? That's very important to know. On missions, I mean, there's so many decisions that you have to take real time, right? It's not programmed, something very different, especially those beyond Earth's orbit. I mean, you can perhaps do this when things are in your control, but when you have to do these real time decision making, when there is nobody to help you out, what happens then? How does AI really help you?
Ah,
How does it
so
tackle?
for example, yeah, right. For example, this Opportunity rover, which was in the Mars. So
Hmm.
there is a delay of time delay of few minutes
Hmm.
because of the limit in the speed of the light flow from to and fro from Earth to Mars. So there was a kind of an onboard computer with a limited intelligence already existing in the Opportunity rover and Spirit rover as well. So they were able to do a lot of autonomous decisions by themselves.
Okay.
And this is the model. Yes, these robots were able to do some autonomous decisions regarding, like, for example, there is a 10 centimeter stone in front of the wheel of the spacecraft. Now the spacecraft can beam about that, like I have an obstacle of 10 centimeter size, and then it goes to the command and control center, and they will tell, okay, you deviate from that particular, instead of trying to roll over that particular 10 centimeter, which can actually destabilize the rover, and it can also generate, it can also waste away a lot of energy. You navigate away from that. Now that is a kind of a decision that the command and control can make, and a counter signal. But typically, when this becomes a direct communication, manual communication, we will several minutes are wasted. But then the onboard computer have given certain autonomy, and it is basically an artificial intelligence based system to make a decision of itself. And it has been worked very nicely for these rover missions. And now, and this all happened before the chat GPT and all. So this has happened in the last decade. And so what we are trying to, the advanced version of those kind of artificial intelligence will start performing. And like I mentioned about now this swarm of satellites. So when you have thousands of satellites, no, it's not practical for a human being to control them. All of them will be in autopilot, and it will be controlled by the artificial intelligence inside the onboard computer of those satellites. So all that I mentioned in the very beginning about thousands of satellites just release like pollen grains, and thousands of micro robots doing their own expeditions on the planet. All of these are autonomous systems that we are conceiving it as autonomous systems where 90% of the decisions are made by the AI and leaving only 10% of decision for the human operators or the human controllers in the ground control system. So this is where the actual use of the artificial intelligence is heading towards in space technology. And we will see a lot of this in the coming decades, when these coming decades are considered as the decades of exploration of the solar system. And we have there are certain timelines, futuristic predictions, etc., based on which the moon will be the first target, where we are trying to create instead of taking material from Earth, because then several tons of material you have to take from Earth, and the cost of the launch become very high. There is a plan. Different space agencies are trying to be there on the moon, first reach the moon, and start collecting the soil from the moon itself. So lunar soil itself is collected, and we create bricks made of lunar soil. So there will be some adhesive, something like in on Earth you have clay. Clay is a very, it's a moldable material. You can make bricks out of it by baking it. But in the moon, it is not clay basically. Of course, in Mars you have a clay-like soil with iron-rich soil, the red color soil. But in moon it is not there. So the moon soil, the regolith, has to be collected, and there are different substances that are mixed with the lunar soil to make it a very strong brick-like structure. And the plan is to assemble bricks after, we will create thousands of bricks, lakhs of bricks, and millions of bricks, and then slowly assemble into different structures like mining centers, launch pads. So like that within moon itself, it's completely self-sufficient on moon itself. Entire construction happen within moon itself. So these kind of things are happening, and the same thing will be replicated on the neighboring planet like Mars, asteroids, etc. in the coming decades. So the moon, I talked about moon because that is already started happening in 2025. And the period between 25 to 35, you will see a lot of things happening on the surface of moon, including construction of buildings, construction of mining units, which will again further mine the surface of moon. So in all these systems, the artificial intelligence used. For example, to create the brick, again you need an autonomy there. So everything the human beings from the Earth cannot observe every aspect of that design and manufacturing of the bricks. So there, the artificial intelligence also used for giving certain autonomy to these machines, the construction machines inside the moon, surface of moon. So this is where we are heading to.
And also, I've heard that there are so many, maybe I've heard, or maybe that's a future plan, I'm not very sure, about working for green labs, that you're going to perhaps replicate the plants in the planets or maybe in the space. Is that happening, or is just some news I heard somewhere?
Yes, this is not, I mean, this is a different thread, but ultimately everything actually converge into the space technologies. So
Okay.
we have a kind of plan. There was another thread of technological leap happening to create artificial leaf. So
Okay.
artificial leaf, in the sense, this is actually capable of creating, no, like photo. It does artificial photosynthesis. Like take the sunlight,
Okay.
and then whatever the this uh, water vapor inside the atmosphere, it will split it into the hydrogen and then create oxygen as well. So this is the artificial leaf, and of course it store the energy, like whatever sunlight, it will store as some amount of energy. So we have already have created an artificial leaf, and then you can actually use those systems on the other planet, or even on the moon, to create oxygen and also to create energy from the sun. Of course, there is a now in ISRO have discovered presence of water. So we need to basically create water vapor by warming the lunar soil, and from that water vapor we can actually create oxygen and hydrogen, and using photosynthesis you can actually create some energies which is stored into some batteries, etc. So these kind of things, ultimately, all these technologies converge into the space technology, and it help us to create biomes and green, basically this green energy and habitats. So livable human habitats you can create. The first step of being having a foothold for the humanity on the surface of moon is to create a lot of livable habitats on the surface of moon, and the kind of population that we are expecting on the surface of moon by the turn of this century is something like some 10,000 people may actually live on the surface of moon, and they will be the people who are in the mining industry, construction industry, etc. Now these people will start living there, so they will start creating small houses which are completely covered, of course, because the water oxygen generated will be completely sealed by the atmosphere, because any oxygen leaks, then automatically it's like that is gone to the outer space. So you create a completely concealed sealed biomes. There is a very lot of interest in creating it underground, because underground lunar biomes, which will be very easy to manage, because the soil has some capacity to resist the harmful radiation, but some part of it, at least the upper floor of these biomes, will be on the surface of the moon itself. At least we need to come out of it, right? To explore the different parts of the moon, you need to come out of it. So you will have multiple stories of the building underground,
Good.
but at least the top floor will be on the surface of the moon, covered by a transparent dome kind of structure. So these kind of structures are emerging. I mean, they're planned to be they're created, and they will be emerging in the coming decades, and a presence of 10,000 people is expected by the turn of this century on the surface of moon.
Oh my God.
And maybe something similar, equivalent, will happen on the neighborhood planets like Mars, with some 100 people living there
My
by the
God.
end of the century.
I wish we are all alive to see that. So you mean the habitats will come before the humans arrive there, right? You will build.
That is the kind of change that happened, and especially that change is having more people voting for that kind of scenario after the emergence of the artificial intelligence. So that is the reason, like so many people ask, like the United States didn't return back to the moon, and people even suspect whether the 1969 was a real event, because a lot of things changed, right? The interest to go back to the moon was very less. It's not because they are not capable, but the interest came down further and further. And now with the robots, so even though there is an Artemis mission to return back the humans onto the moon, which may happen in the next 5 years, the interest is coming down, because you can do the same thing with a robot, and the robot doesn't require oxygen, it doesn't require water like the way we want. Of course, water is required for other things, but not to sustain the life. So the robot can do a lot of things all by itself. So why there should be a human presence? Maybe one person is required and an army of robots, that's good deal. So that kind of a change has happening. So the biomes typically come first before large scale human presence into many of these moons and planets.
This is fantastic. We are looking at a very, very positive scenario. But do you think there's still some limitations of AI in space? And where does human intuition still outform? I mean, we are intuitive people. But this is our most innate, most important quality, that we are intuitive. Do you think AI
Yeah.
will have intuitions? And perhaps you'd like to discuss of some limitations of AI in space still that we have. And do you
Yes.
think the human, what I meant was that, do you think the human intuition can still outform the machines? I mean, where do
Yeah.
you at that?
See, I will put it in a very different manner because the AI is having the good reasoning power, right? So any task which is repetitive, already AI will be doing 10 times better than the human being.
Hmm.
So that is where the AI will be. So a lot of repetitive tasks in the space technology, like creating the material, right material by trial and error, right propellants, right like engines. So there, the human, even if it is a multiple number of people, they will be bored for. So there, all the AI will be helping you, and then it also have some level of intuition. So if you give so much of data, it will recognize the pattern very fast, and it will generate a result which the human have never thought about. But the one thing that AI lacks is the purpose. So the purpose of doing all those things lies with the human being and the desire. So these are the two important factors. Because, for example, when we say we want to we want to establish a habitat on the surface of a moon, that is a purpose and that is a desire. So that desire is with a human. It is like a human being, right? Maybe a scientist or the head of the organization, the research space research organization. So such humans have that kind of objective. The objective and the desire and the purpose, these are always with the human. So it will be like, so everything else, like including intuition, including reasoning power, everything will be subservient to that desire, the human desire and the human purpose, the objective. So this is the way we will see. This is the reason, because it is still not very clear that the AI, even it is like sometimes behave more or less more intelligent than the human beings. Still, we are not seeing any purpose in the inside the artificial intelligence. Purpose is always with the human being. The desire is with the human beings. Like, I need to do this, or I don't need to. I don't want to do this. This kind of a desire. I want to create it. I don't want to create it. So these are all always, at least the current moment, it is always lies with the this human like human individuals, or a group of people or a country. So that when we say India wants to send, create a space station, that is a country's desire. So the country is here deciding things, right? Maybe you use AI, you use human beings, robots, but none of them have that desire. None of them have that mission. The purpose is always with the humans, human societies, and nations, and the humanity as a collective. We have a purpose. So as long as the purpose doesn't, we doesn't lose our purpose, and this purpose is not controlled, or purpose is not in the hands of the AI, it will always be under us. And that is something that many people have not recognized. Like, they will think that, okay, this AI is more intelligent than me, so the AI will conquer me. Never happen. For example, I will tell you, even within the human societies, we have, of course, we have our prime minister who is actually heading our country. There will be thousands of scientists more intelligent than our prime minister, but they are not
Mhm.
above the prime minister. So
Right.
the intelligence is not the primary factor in superiority, right? So we will be still working. The highest IQ person will be still working as an employee in a company, and the CEO of the company will be having a half of that IQ, because the purpose is with that CEO, and the objective and the mission and the desire is with that CEO or the board of directors. So that way, I don't see any need to worry about the AI being more intelligent than human beings, etc. But they will be actually serving the purpose of the human being.
No, absolutely, I agree to that. But in the beginning, we also discussed that there might be a point when maybe, though there's no No history
Yeah.
now that they try to take over the human, So are we safeguarding ourselves? Are we taking
Yes.
some steps that this does not happen on a mission as important as space, where there is no
Hmm.
hope of any error? So are we
Right.
already taking that thing in mind, that they don't supersede us, or are we already
Yes.
taking some steps?
Yes. Some steps, like for example, within the hardware of any intelligence system, we are trying to build a safety mechanism that you don't harm. Exactly, Isaac Asimov himself have introduced it in a part of a novel, but it is almost like a rule of robotics. Like it will not harm another human being. Like it will not harm a human being. So these rules are built in hardware into the AI systems. So this is already happening, right? That is why sometimes some of the AI-based systems are destroyed by the creators, because they may be trying to, no, it's maybe the proper checks and balances are not built into the system, so that will be destructed. So that is one first step that we are doing. That there are checks and balances and certain rules which are hardwired, which we cannot overcome. Even human beings have that kind of. Some of the things are hardwired into our brain, like some instincts. That human instincts are actually hardware. It's like a hardware based things which are inside our brain, which we cannot, by intelligent reasoning power, we cannot overcome.
Hmm.
Like some of the things make us angry, some other things make us happy. So these are all because there are certain hardwired things inside the human brain. So same thing we will do into the hardwired into the artificial intelligence system. So even though they have reasoning power, they are intelligence, they cannot overcome that. So that is one precautionary step that we are doing. Second one is another very interesting trend, which is actually putting a question mark about the boundaries, right? For example, there is something called a biological, that is, instead of silicon based chips, some scientists have created an artificial intelligence system where the cells, that is the individual human cells, are connected together, and some
Oh.
chemical messaging, and that kind of systems are emerging. So are they living or are they non-living? So even the people who created it, they don't know whether to call them living or as a non-living. And then you have bionic systems, like the human beings themselves implanting electronic systems into their brains. So what I'm saying is, it is ultimately we become us. I mean, or we become them and they become us. This is also a possibility, right? So today we are actually able to distinguish between human and the robot, because the robot is based on silicon-based systems, and we are biological systems which are carbon-based.
Hmm.
And if you do so much of mixing, like your hand is robotic hand, but your heart is a mechanical robotic
Hybrid,
heart,
hybrid
hybrid.
system.
Yeah. So as this continues, the distinction between a biological system and a robotic system will disappear. So ultimately, like there are plans of some people, like for example, Neuralink from the Elon Musk, wherein the human brain basically control the robotic, because their arm, whatever we call it, the arms and wheelchair, all of the robots. So we actually, in our eyes, when you look at it, it look like a wheelchair for you, it look like an arm, but they are robots basically, and they are controlled by this Neuralink. And there are now the artificial heart already started production. So you have an artificial heart, you have artificial hands, everything is artificial. Then ultimately you also become like a hybrid. So there are two. It's a two direction. Two direction is happening. One is human beings acquiring body parts which are actually electronic in nature, and then the reverse thing is some of the electronic based systems are replaced by biological systems. So in both ways, the merger is happening. So now today we say human versus robot, but in tomorrow it may not be there. That distinction may not be there.
There might be a thin
So
line. So
yeah,
that's very right that we're doing so many steps. So we are also taking care of the critical errors that it might make in autonomous system. But you can't guarantee that. Tomorrow is another day, as they say.
yeah.
And science is
What
also ever evolving.
yeah, it is looks science fiction, but what I'm saying is today you have a distinction between us and them,
Hmm.
but tomorrow it may not be there. So that identity crisis or the identity itself is not there, that this person is human and this person is a robot. Today you have, in 21st century you have that identity, but in 25th century, after 300 years, that identity, that differentiation may not be there. And just imagine, like your brain is extended by the entire internet. It's because we are very at the verge of it. Like the Neuralink is towards going towards that. So your entire internet appear, you feel like it is part of your brain because you can connect with the internet, right? So whatever the information data inside the internet is your own brain. It'll appear like your own brain for you. So you are becoming a superhuman being, but at the same time you are also a no, whatever we earlier called as a robot, you are also a robot, but you are also a human being. So that kind of identity crisis can come up in the subsequent centuries, maybe even subsequent decades. So we don't know the fast at which speed at which it is moving.
But in your view, do you think the future of space belongs more to machines or humans?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like that distinction of whether it's machine and human is a
But
kind
we
of a
don't
distinction
know.
that distinction exists only in 21st century. But in a future century, there will not be such a distinction. But at least today's vocabulary, we definitely use the term like humans and machine. So in that current vocabulary, we say that the humans will be in the driving seat because currently we have the desire, we have the mission, we have the objective. No, that is all rust with the human being. And any kind of robotic systems we are building, they may be intelligent, they may be more efficient, but it doesn't have a desire. But of course, the things can change when we are start mixing up things, right? That robotic systems become part of you, and you become part of the robotic systems. Then the things will start changing.
You're so right, and you've given so much of food of thought in this podcast that all of us will really, really think and might not come to a conclusion though, because yes, you're so right. There's such a thin space, thin line now. But do you think one important question which I had just last few, I know we've taken so much of your time today. Uh, do you think AI at some stage, we were always used to think AI as part of science fiction, and now you see how much relatable it is to our life. So, what role do you think AI can still play in search for maybe some extraterrestrial life? I mean, if
Yes.
AI is what it is, maybe there definitely is some extraterrestrial life somewhere. So,
Correct. That's a maybe very interesting question to answer the last question probably. That because the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the so far we were actually looking at the available signal data, all like like human intervention, and you are looking at the signal data, and the same problem of pattern recognition exists in the this data as well. That is, extraterrestrial search generate a lot of data, like it analyzes thousands of stars and galaxies that generate radio signals or electromagnetic signals in various spectrum, like from gamma rays to X-rays to radio signals, light signals, everything. So there is a huge data that is coming to us, and when a normal human being looks, they may not be able to really recognize a hidden pattern, which AI system can actually recognize. So here also you will be able to see some acceleration happening, that just on an out of the one out of the blue, the AI will be fed with this data, and it will tell, right, no, that's you didn't look at, you didn't recognize it, but here there is a pattern. Like
mm,
that, it will start coming up with and giving you a pattern, and that pattern will lead to a like the pattern will basically this when we say there is an alien signature or an alien signal, basically it's a recognition of a pattern, which the condition is that this pattern should not be generated by a natural process. So if you able to discover that pattern, it is like a discovery of the aliens. And here also the pattern, the advanced or highly efficient pattern matching capability that AI is having can actually accelerate the process and allow us to discover an actual signal which we have been seeing it and not recognizing for a long period of time. It's possible.
the last two questions before we
Yeah.
wind up today's most fantastic episode of such a valuable conversation. Where do we stand as a nation in terms of AI progress, AI research, in terms of space exploration? Where are we? Are we at the
Yes.
top?
Yes.
We are still
Right.
coming up.
Uh,
Who do you see us as a competitor? I wouldn't say we're all, I think, global partners in space exploration. But where are we? Because we have such wonderful scientists like you in ISRO.
yes. Right. So in the space technology, everybody knows that we are a great player. Some of our capabilities are recognized even by the the leaders like NASA, right, where they could not detect the water for the first time in the moon. We were the first to land and very closer to the South Pole. So it is technically the South Pole launch that we have done, and so many such first time activities ISRO has done. And the only space agency which has sent the spacecraft to Mars and succeeded at the first attempt. Though these are all the feathers in the hand, in terms of space technology, but a little bit kind of a mixed feeling when it comes to artificial intelligence, because if, we just like in space technology, we didn't could not able to do that leadership role in the space in the artificial intelligence. So a lot of things, the innovations are happening in the Western countries, and we are following on. So maybe in the near future, when we have more talented generation coming up, that this can change, and we need to see the innovations in the artificial intelligence with no, our own AI-based systems, our own indigenously made AI-based systems. Of course, some of things we heard about in the recent conflict between India and Pakistan. So we have some indigenous AI-based systems in the defense. That's a promising, but then we need to increase that capability into all fields, and we may be, we little bit lag, I could see, but maybe in the coming years and decades, that gap has to be mitigated, and we have to be a leader in the leading innovator in the area of artificial intelligence as well. And then it is will tremendously help in the space technologies and different technologies and all the fields of our life. So as a nation, we need to do more in artificial intelligence. But something that we have to look back, like the entire binary system of ones and zeros, the first expression of that, it is in the India. So just like people know decimal system came from India, but even binary system and its usage basically started in India. They encode the poetry inside the Rig Veda using the binary system. So we have an ancient track record, and that we need to replicate in the 21st century. With we should match with whatever our rishis were capable in the past, like that.
Fantastic. What a wonderful conversation. And just one very last question. So are we getting, because you have so much of knowledge of space exploration, are you going to give us perhaps a book on this very shortly, something that you're already planning with your vast knowledge? You're already doing so much of work on the geography of our older
Yeah,
manuscripts, but what next for you? Because you're doing so
correct.
much already, how are you going to combine your immense knowledge of space?
All right, right. That's a very interesting question. So I have a kind of my kind of social media presence is really strange, because I write books on the geography of Rig Veda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, but I go to the news channels as a space scientist and talk about launches and missions, etc. So you are right. There actually need a book on the space technology. But what I am doing is I am actually getting transition from the ancient literature, that is Rig Veda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, into a future. So my coming book, that is the Dharmic Grand Narrative, that is the title of the book, where I am actually talking about Sanatana Dharma, but actually it is not like a religious lecture on Sanatana Dharma. Instead of that, it is like Sanatana Dharma is a kind of the foundation for us to go into the future, because it is a non-exclusive ideology, and it includes everybody as equal. There is no division like this kafir or believer kind of divisions. Nothing is there. So there is no animosity Sanatana Dharma is creating. So I consider that as a platform for us when we are reaching to the planets and the stars for the next few decades. At the same time, I'm having a focus on the science and technology. So basically, I'm talking about Sanatana Dharma in this ecosystem of science and technology, artificial intelligence, space exploration, etc. So it's a very different book. And if you read it, you will basically, as a person who is focused on philosophy and literature, or the science or spirituality, they will see the book is about spirituality. But for anybody who is a scientist or a person who is artificial intelligence expert or a space explorer, will be able to see that the book is about that. So that is the kind of book I am writing. And so I have a chapters dedicated for artificial. So this book is about karmic grand narrative, but I have chapters dedicated on the artificial intelligence inside that. Space exploration is mentioned inside that. So This is one of the first book where I will be talking about space technology and artificial intelligence, irrespective of the title of the book.
Fantastic. We look forward to reading the book, and we look forward to having a fantastic conversation with you once again on this. And thank you so
Thank you.
much for enlightening us with your super knowledge on use of artificial intelligence in space exploration. You made us wiser. You made us introspective. We have a different perspective. We are looking forward to much more from you in future, and we look forward to welcoming you once again and again on our platform in future. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today, and please do subscribe to our channel so that more and more people can watch these wonderful episodes and many more episodes to come. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.